Hey people, it's me again. Today is January 8th. It's now 10 a.m. So, anyways, although I'm now letting the chips fall where they may when it comes to my second SP, when it comes to my manifestation journey. And of course, that's the guy that I refer to him as J2 or Mr. J on TikTok as far as that goes. But in a way, I feel like I was already in this wish fulfilled state. It's just that it's going to take a long time for me to have that sort of thing reflect the reality of that sort. And this sort of thing could probably take a year or two or whatever it is. But I'm patient, as far as that goes. Because the truth of the matter is that I could be very patient, at this point now that, certain conditions are met and where I'm seeing, minuscule progress of that sort. So, anyways, regarding that, there is movement of that sort, but it was just one of those little things that was in my few things. So one of the things here is somehow I was thinking of this one episode of South Park, and it was making fun of his home state, as far as that goes. And although he's from a small town in that home state, but I don't know if he had exhibit the stereotypes of that growing up, was, or at least just the attitude from people from that state. That's just one of the things there. And two, it was one of the other things that I kind of realized one of his flaws is that he kind of has an ego the size of that state, and it comes out sometimes, as far as that goes. And although I shouldn't be, watching some of his TikToks as far as that goes, but it was one of the latest one where he was complaining about the algorithm and all, and of course admitted that he was promoting himself on those TikToks just for funsies, and of course certain people were wanting to take him down a peg or two or whatever it is. And of course I think the way he said it sounded like he was a bit arrogant, as far as that goes. But yet, I think, for me, I'm not afraid to put him in his place, as far as that goes, because, he does have to have that ego in check, because look what happened, because it was just the repeat of what had happened, 15 years ago. That point But I wasn't really aware of that sort of thing at the time because I was just doing my own things back in '09. But when you kind of type his username on YouTube, so then there would be like one of these old videos of someone who was calling him out on his bullshit of that sort, you know. But you know, as far as that goes, if there's any like videos that had that someone had made about me, it was never really point of where someone was calling me out on something, except for that whole video with Essence of Thought. At that point, that was just about 5 years ago, but you know, I had kind of, you know, shown him. But it's what it said to like Essence of Thought at the time was like, you know, that what was the whole point of it? You know, you're just trying to garner views at my expense, and he wouldn't answer. You know, because you know the game he was trying to play some sort of stupid little game, and I didn't really bite. I wasted Essence of Thought's time, you know, and that's just really the thing. You know, have that been there, done that attitude towards everything, you know, and that's just really what it is. It was like that. I forgot that guy's name again. He was one of those crazy little fundy dundies, and where I had a video response to him was where I basically told him off that I rejected his response because he wasn't worth my time. And I was just being kind of very blunt with him, you know, the crazy funny dundies, you know, because they think that their belief system is the only thing that really should matter, you know, and that just really sounds stupid because they're not the center of the universe or whatever it is, you know, and it's just something that, you know, they need to be put in their place of that sort, you know, be taken down a peg, you know. So this kind of reminds me of this other story, you know, because I talked about it periodically when I was growing up, you know, at the time where I kicked the principal in the crotch, you know. But you know, it also makes me kind of wonder if that principal, Mr. Drew, still thinks of me, even though it's been like 30 years so far since I did that, you know, as far as that goes. But the whole story was like, it's just like what I said, you know, last year about like the jokes on them when it came to like YouTube suspending me for about a week, you know, because is that really much of a punishment? Not really, but it just gave me time to kind of reflect on a lot of other things. And that's kind of like what happened, you know, a couple of weeks ago where I unblocked, you know, J2 or Mr. J on TikTok and accidentally followed him, and so I got like suspended for a week on TikTok. But does that really make any real much of a punishment? Not really, because I already gotten bored with TikTok and I just don't want to use it anymore, you know. So what was the other thing? And it was just when it came to like Mr. Drew and you know, that sort of stuff there, because I was very close to repeating the 6th grade because of all like the behavior problems I was dealing with at the time and all of this, you know, because, and then holding me back another year is only going to be punishing them, not punishing me, his hair was already like 12, and the whole you know, grade A testosterone is gonna course through my veins and that sort of thing. Then what they're gonna do, you know, once they go through that transformation and into puberty and all that, you know. But it kind of reminds me of this one joke about back around high school, like around senior year. But that was when Pokemon was starting to get popular here in America, and then one of my friends was explaining to another friend about like how the whole evolution thing with the Pokemon works, and how, like, you know, there's like the Squirtle is like a kid, and then it evolves into a Wartortle, and Wartortle would be like the teenage form, and then the Blastoise is like the full adult form, you know, when they kind of evolve like that, you know. So, but that was just like where they evolve through experience, and where others it's like they evolve through like an item of that sort, or through trade, or something like that. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I forgot what I was thinking of. So, considering all of that, I have plenty of options and all, and to tell the truth, when it comes to J2 or Mr. J, is just that I think this sort of thing here is just the beginning of an actual relationship with him, you know, because it's kind of like only a matter of time before he kind of conforms to that reality that I'm, you know, creating at this point. Because what I know here is that circumstances don't matter, and you can manifest whatever you want at this point, and there's no limit on how much you can manifest and all. It's just simply detaching from the outcome, but not the desire of it, because the outcomes are endless of that sort, and you don't really necessarily have to like be attached to that outcome. But the key there is what I'm hearing from a lot of the manifestation coaches and all that all over on TikTok or YouTube is that you have to be in that the wish fulfilled state, to be in that frame, you know, where you feel like you're the motherfucking king or queen of the universe, that sort of thing, you know, inside, and that kind of reflects outside. Because how come why a lot of these sort of people who are so confident in themselves always get what they want in that sense, you know, because it's just they emit all this high frequency energy, and that's kind of like the thing for me now. It's like I'm starting to come back to having this higher frequency or vibrational energy or whatever you would call it, you know, and that's just one of those things. So, anyways, I guess that's probably it. So, talk to you guys later. Hey people, it's me again. So, anyways, I'm heading back from the rec center as far as that goes. So I did one video there. So, considering all of that, you know, there's like the long way that I can get back to the house, and so that's just staying on the street I'm on and then walk all the way till that street ends to get to the main road. Or I could just, walk up this other street, and then hit the main road and then cross the main road to get to the side of that street where my house is in. So, anyways, back about 30 years ago when I was in middle school, so there was like 3 bus stops that they would have on this side of the main road, and so I would walk to get to one of the other bus stops that was just the first one, instead of walking to the one that's on the same side of the road as where my house is on. Although it wasn't really allowed for us to cross the street, but there were people that, that were assigned to that sort of bus stop and yet live on the other side of the street. Yeah. So it's just one of those little things. And then on that side of the street where I live, there was 2 bus stops, but they also had 2 bus stops prior to that. So there was like 2 buses that they would pick up all the kids there. So anyways, one of the reasons I'm talking about this sort of thing here is that it was one of the times where I was not on a special bus, so it was just me riding the same bus as everybody in the neighborhood. And that point was like the kids there didn't really care if I was in special ed or not, because all of them are in the neighborhood. So I think it was right around this time. I think it was like January, maybe February, or something like that. And it was just some sort of mishap when it came to the buses. That the whole story was, I think the bus had to be there about like 9, I think it was like 9:15, something like that, or 8, something like that, because the school would start around like 9:45 or 9:35, something like that, and we would get out around like 3:30, but that was when we were in our own campus. It was like 4:01 when we were sharing a campus with another school at that point, because our school wasn't finished being built yet. So the first 2 months of the school year, we were sharing a campus. And so it wasn't until like November when we had our own campus. Yeah. So, anyways, when it came to that, this whole story goes was that we were waiting for the bus to pick us up, and it was probably might have been, running a little late, and then it was probably like 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour, and it still didn't came. So then we all go, say, forget it. And so we all had walked across the street to get to like the other kids that were waiting in the other bus stop. That's just like the next street over. And then to tell them that the bus didn't came. And then at the next point was we walked there to get to the third bus stop, and it still didn't came. It was probably might have been like an hour or an hour and a half before they finally gotten a bus to pick us all up, because everybody else who was on the other bus route for the other side of the street, you know, was already been picked up by now. But we were just wondering, like, how come, why that happened. And I think the whole reasoning of all that was just simply because of the fact that it was just miscommunication on there, and I think maybe one of the drivers was sick, or was, and the substitute driver didn't get, you know, the directions there as far as that goes, because this was way before we had like GPS and MapQuest and Google Maps or whatever it was at the time. And that was one of the times there where the kids in the neighborhood didn't really care I was on the special ed class as far as that goes. But I think at that point in time, it was something like, you know, like Ellie or Wanda or whatever it was that I was seeing at that point. They were trying to make me care about, like, that I was different or whatever it was at that time. So, considering all of it, you know, and at that whole point of, like, where it kind of doesn't really matter about this sort of thing, you know, but there's one of the other things that I'll probably talk about later on when it comes to, like, you know, some of my manifestation journeys of that sort, you know. But I feel like, you know, just for like a preview here when it comes to day 2, is that maybe it's still worth it. And I shouldn't really just give up so easily. But sometimes it's just, for me, it's better to kind of, you know, lay low and be in the background for a while. You know what I mean? So, anyways, so anytime I would walk over this section here in this street, this is like where I would have and I did record that sort of thing a couple of times. So every time I'm at this street and then this section here between those streets, it's like I'm back at middle school. Like, this is a minimum day sort of thing. We're out a lot earlier than it was. But normally it's like when we do minimum days, it's usually like we're out around like 12 or 12:30 at the earliest, and maybe like 1 or 1:30 at the latest at that point. And so usually there would be no lunch. But considering all of that, when I was in the whole adult transition program, usually 12 was like lunch. You know? And so we usually have like an hour lunch. And then after that, it's just, we do whatever shit that we do for 1 o'clock. And then we would, you know, be let out around 2 at that point. Because usually we would be there around 9. And so they would have like the 9 to 10:30 class, 10:30 to 12 class, you know, depending on which day of the week and all. And then others would have their assigned jobs and that sort of shit, you know. But to tell the truth, at that point, you know, I was only in the whole adult transition thing there just because my old best friends were there and all these other people were there that I knew, you know, and I had the free ride, the free diagnosis, and the SSI, and that's just about it. I kind of didn't really need adult transition for anything else other than that. You know, maybe I wanted a job, but because of the way how they poorly handled things, you know, because they were like understaffed and all that, that I don't really need them, you know, as far as that goes. And that was just, you know, it, because, you know, we only cared about that sort of thing now at that time because I had one foot out the door. You know, when I couldn't care about that sort of thing, I already had the 2 feet in. You know what I mean? So that was just one of those things. So, anyways, it's just one of the things I have to kind of mention about it. Tell the truth. So, anyways, I guess that's probably it. So, talk to you guys later. Hey, people. It's me again. So, anyways, I'm heading back to the house after my walk, as far as that goes. Here, I probably really need to charge my phone because I was, you know, draining up the battery because I was doing all these videos and never really quite finished up to my satisfaction of that sort. So, anyways, today is January 17th, 2024. So, in a way, it's been about like 6 months since, you know, since the whole Kundalini awakening started to occur at that point, and it lasted like for 3 months for me. You know, because of the fact that I gotten carried away with the manifestation and all, but I just didn't know that's what it takes to get the whole Kundalini awakening to occur at that point. So, considering all of it, when it comes to J2, as I talked about earlier, and that sort, and so that's kind of like the explanation, you know, why I was all, you know, obsessed with him and that sort, because of the fact that when you're manifesting somebody and you don't detach from them right away, you become obsessed with them. And then the problem is that when you do that, that also makes, you know, your specific person resist, be utterly repulsed by you in that sense, you know, because you put too much energy onto them. But then when you pull away, you know, as far as that goes, or you do like another manifestation that kind of, you know, works around resistance, meaning like making them become hopelessly in love with you or that sort, and that's kind of like the thing that kind of counteracts the resistance of that sort. Because in what I hear from Robert Zank and Sammy Ingram and all that is that all the methods work is just simply being in the state of the wish fulfilled and maintaining that state of the wish fulfillment long enough where the reality starts to shift of that sort. And I think that was just really my biggest problem of that sort. Was I was in that state of the wish fulfilled, but I have trouble maintaining the state of the wish fulfilled as far as that goes long enough for it to be in the reality shifting part. And I think for a lot of people it's just this sort of the matter of when or how long, but I think it's like the whole watch pot never boils attitude towards things there, or when you get to that state, when you get to that point where you not necessarily like you don't care about it anymore, but when you get to that whole thing that you don't really care how it happened, but it just happened. And I think that's just where I'm supposed to get to, that state where I don't really care how it happens. It just happens. And for me to maintain, a positive mindset, self-concept, and whatnot. And I think that's just really like the thing that has to occur for me as far as that goes, to be in that state of the wish fulfilled, the state of everything at that point. So, to tell the truth, that's where I'm kind of heading. And there's like more than one ways to get to that state of that wish fulfilled. And stay there long enough. Because the whole chain of events, and when your specific person gets to you. So anyways, guess that's probably it. So talk to you guys later.